Welcome to today's deep dive into Satan's Slaves, an Indonesian horror film directed by Joko Anwar, which combines supernatural horror with traditional family drama to terrifying effect. This movie, a remake of the 1980 Indonesian cult classic of the same name, became an instant hit for its eerie atmosphere, tension building, and a layered story that leaves audiences haunted well after the credits roll. The story follows a family living in an isolated rural house, plagued by a series of increasingly terrifying supernatural occurrences after the death of the matriarch, Mewarni Suwono, who was once a famous singer. Let's start by getting to know this family and the relationships within it because, as you'll soon find out, these dynamics play a crucial role in the unfolding nightmare. The film opens with the family on the brink of financial collapse. Mewarni, the mother, is bedridden due to a mysterious illness, leaving her children to care for her. The eldest daughter, Rini, steps up as a secondary mother figure, and we quickly see how much weight she carries for her family. This household includes her father, a stoic man burdened by debt and grief, her younger siblings, Bondi, Tony, and the youngest, Ian, who is deaf. Together, they form a tightly knit unit, bound not just by blood, but also by hardship. The tone is set immediately, with an air of sorrow hanging heavily over them as they struggle to cope with Mewarni's worsening condition. After a painful decline, Mewarni dies, leaving the family devastated. Her funeral scene is critical as it introduces elements that foreshadow the horrors to come. Locals are disturbed, hinting that there was something off about Mewarni's life and death. The family, too, starts to sense her lingering presence in their home. This is where the terror truly begins to seep in, and the supernatural undertones grow stronger. Rini and her siblings start experiencing eerie, inexplicable events, which they initially chalk up to grief and imagination. They hear strange noises, see fleeting shadows, and feel as though they're being watched. What follows is a slow but steady buildup of supernatural activity that reaches a chilling peak every night. These scenes are impeccably crafted, relying on a gradual increase in dread rather than cheap jump scares. Each member of the family begins to experience Mewarni's presence, and it becomes evident that whatever lingers isn't simply the spirit of their deceased mother. At night, the children begin to hear Mewarni's familiar singing voice, a haunting lullaby that floats through the house. It's as though she has never truly left and her soul is trapped, bound to the home. The eerie voice is one of the film's most spine-chilling elements, calling back to her life as a singer and casting a lingering shadow over her children. They soon realize that their mother's legacy isn't one of fame and fortune, but of horror and something much darker. One of the most intense sequences involves Ian, the youngest son, who sees his mother's ghost in full form. Being deaf, Ian's perspective is unique. He senses her presence in ways the others do not, and because of this, he becomes a particular target for the haunting. His siblings try to protect him, but the entity's presence becomes so overwhelming that it begins to physically manifest, terrifying Ian and the rest of the family. Joko Anwar does an incredible job of creating a layered sense of fear that builds on each family member's vulnerabilities, particularly Ian's isolation. The story takes a grim turn as the family starts unraveling secrets that their father has kept hidden. Desperate to understand the haunting, Rini finds old photographs, letters, and clues about their mother's past. These discoveries reveal that Mewarni was involved in a cult known as the Children of Satan, who worshipped dark forces and practiced black magic. Rini realizes that her mother made a pact with this cult, trading her soul and the souls of her children for fleeting fame and fortune. As Rini uncovers the terrifying truth, she learns that the cult's ultimate goal was to take one of her family members as a sacrifice to fulfill the pact. The children begin to understand that their mother's soul might be trapped not because she chose to stay, but because the cult forced her to, binding her to the house and the children in death. This connection to the cult adds a layer of human horror, as we see how greed, desperation, and loss can drive people to unimaginable darkness. With each passing night, the hauntings become more intense, more physical. The family experiences poltergeist activity, with objects moving on their own, doors slamming shut, and chilling whispers. Mawari's ghost becomes increasingly aggressive, not merely a passive apparition, but a vengeful, tortured spirit. During a particularly disturbing night, the family realizes they are not alone, not just with Mawari's spirit, but with actual cult members who have begun to encroach upon their lives. Hooded figures appear in the distance, lurking in the shadows around the property, watching the house as though waiting for something or someone to cross into their world. These cult members become terrifying, real-world intruders, blurring the lines between supernatural horror and psychological dread. The family's isolation makes the situation even more harrowing as their calls for help go unanswered, their cries echoing in the empty countryside. The climax of Satan's Slaves is a relentless sequence of terror that combines all the tension, fear, and horror the film has meticulously built up. The cult finally breaches the home, and the family must confront both the living cult members and Mawari's vengeful spirit. Rini, her siblings, and their father fight desperately to escape, as the house becomes a prison filled with supernatural and mortal dangers. The film doesn't shy away from its brutality here, as we see the family at their breaking point. Anwar doesn't hold back, making this climax one of desperation and primal survival. As the family battles to escape the cult's grasp and their mother's haunting, viewers are left gripping the edge of their seats, feeling every heartbeat, every breath, and every scream. Just when it seems like they've narrowly escaped, a final twist plunges us back into darkness. The family flees, thinking they are finally free, but the last scene hints at something chilling. The haunting and the curse may not be bound to the house. The pact with the cult is not something they can escape so easily. Mawari's presence, along with the cult's influence, may have followed them, leaving an ambiguous and disturbing ending that hints at further doom. The movie closes on an unsettling note, with questions lingering over the fate of the family. Are they free, or has their ordeal only just begun? Satan's Slaves excels because it's a masterful blend of horror and tragedy, grounded in a family's deep love for one another, yet tormented by supernatural forces beyond their control. It's a tale of broken promises, curses, and unfulfilled desires that lingers in your mind long after watching. Joko Anwar's direction and his use of Indonesian folklore breathe life into the story, making it feel both deeply personal and universally terrifying. The film's pacing, the revelation of secrets, and the hauntingly realistic portrayal of family relationships create an atmosphere of dread that is hard to shake off. Each ghostly encounter and cult visitation is a reminder that sometimes the most horrifying monsters come from our past, haunting us in ways we can't escape. The genius of Satan's Slaves is in its ability to tap into universal fears. The loss of a loved one, the secrets that linger beyond death, and the terror of realizing that some deals like those with cults don't end even when life does. It's a story that sticks with you, leaving a chill that lingers long after the final scene fades to black. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this recap and analysis, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Let us know in the comments what you thought of Satan's Slaves. Do you think the family truly escaped, or is something darker still haunting them? And if you have any recommendations for other horror films you'd like to see recapped and analyzed, drop them down below. Until next time, stay safe, and remember, some doors once opened can never be shut. Sleep well if you can.